I used to tell my mom that being poor is like being in prison. When you are poor, you don't have access to the things that you want. Just like when you're in prison, you don't have access to the things that you want. Everything costs money. The difference between being in prison and being poor is that when you are poor, you do see other people having the things that you want. When you're in prison, everyone does not have the things that they want. So you kind of like, hey, at least we're all going through the same shit here. You know, we're dealing with the same problems. But when you are outside and you're poor, you'll see people buying the things that you want. Knowing that you can't afford these things. That sucks. So when you have a child knowing that you are poor, you are basically imprisoning them. Believe it or not. Can you imagine growing up in poverty? You see other kids having the things that they want and you don't have these things. And you can't have these things. You're still young. No one is going to tell you that, oh, wait, all you need to do is just work hard. Like, well, kids don't really work, right? Kids just go to school. You go to school and other kids are eating the kind of food that they want to eat. You don't have that kind of food. You're eating garbage. Sometimes you don't even have food. Other kids got shoes. You don't have shoes. When you go back home, other kids got PlayStations. You don't got that. They got nice clothes. You don't got that. They got TVs. You don't got that. DVD players. You don't got that. Computers. You don't got that. Cell phones. You don't got. That sucks. Like, we don't talk about the trauma caused by not having the things that you want. Because that's normal in our society. The trauma that's caused by seeing other people having the things that you want, knowing that you can't have those things. No one talks about that kind of trauma. No one talks about how it was like growing up not having the things that they want. It's like, that's normal. You just gotta work hard and you're gonna have the things that you want. What if you never get to have the things that you want? What if your whole life you never get to have the things that you want? You grow up in poverty and die in poverty. You live until you're like 70 and you never really had the things that you wanted. What you must understand is that if you grow up in poverty, chances are you're gonna die in poverty. Because life is competition. If you grow up in poverty, you're not going to be trained the way that you need to be trained to win. See, the best athletes in the world got to meet the right people when they were young, and these people trained them when they were young. See, Mayweather, he got trained when he was young. Tyson, he got trained when he was young. Tyson Fury, Khabib Nurmagomedov, all these guys, you know, they were trained when they were young. They grew up being trained by the right people. That's why they became champions. That's how it works in life. You got to be raised right. Most parents believe that their kids just gotta grow up and that's it. Their job is to make sure that their kids grow up and become adults. That's it. Like, no. If you have a kid, you have a lot of work to do. It's not just about giving them food. No, no, no. You've got to train them to be winners in the end. Because life itself is competition. You brought them here knowing that life is competition. It's not just about waking up and eating food, growing bigger, and that's it. Most of us weren't even raised right. Because most parents don't know what they're really doing. They don't have the kind of resources that they need to raise children. They don't have the time. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the wisdom. They're just average humans who just wanted to have kids because, well, anyone can have kids. Human beings have a good survival chance because there's hospitals. Like, even if they're not being raised by parents who know what they're doing, they can survive, you know. If they get sick, their parents are just going to send them to a hospital and they get treated, come back, eat crap, get sick, get treated, break the law, get locked up, get released. You know what I mean? They end up growing up, but you find that they didn't learn anything. They didn't learn anything valuable. Because they weren't raised by the right kind of people. People like Elon believe that what we need to be doing as a society is having more children, regardless of what we're going through. What he's failing to understand is that many people who ended up not making it in life are the people who didn't get access to what they needed to actually become something in life. When you look at someone like Elon, he's white, right? He grew up in South Africa, but he's white. He's white. Being white in South Africa is a privilege. Probably went to a good school. He says that his dad was broke, but how broke was he? Was he not able to afford the things that Elon wanted? Let me tell you something. If Elon was black and he grew up in my village, he wouldn't even be a millionaire. Listen, $1 million is like 19 million, right, in South African rands. I'm saying you wouldn't even be a millionaire in South Africa. You think that people where I grew up are just dumb? Like they're just dumb. Like they got bad genetics. Huh? They can't really do anything. You think that's the case? That's the reason why you never hear about someone who comes from where I come from being like something very important in the world. Like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how we grew up. Did we have access to the things that we needed to become great in life? What did we learn growing up? Were we even taught by people who were winners? Were we even taught by people who were fighters? People who were smart? People who were well taught? Everything counts. There are a lot of people that I know who had real potential when we were growing up. You see that, hey, this one dude, this person is next level. When it comes to sports, you find that, oh, they're next level. You haven't seen anything like them before, but they end up not making it because of where they grew up. No one is pushing them. No one is giving them a chance in life. I mean, someone like Mike Tyson, he grew up in a place where, boxing was taken seriously, so he made it because of that. You might say, oh, well, I worked very hard, this and like, no, it's not even that. I mean, yes, that counts too, but everything has to fall into place for you to actually make it. Things gotta work out. Things gotta happen the right way. Why am I telling you all this? One of my biggest problems with this matrix, with this world that we are part of, is that nothing is working right. Things are not working right because we are having more kids than the world needs. That's the problem. That has always been the problem. We end up not raising children who are going to become something in life. Like, to us, it's just about the quantity, right? We don't realize that if we're going to have more children than the world needs, what's going to happen is that most of them are not going to be raised right. So we're not going to have quality children, right? Because they're not even raised right. They're not being given what they really need to become something in the future. That's why we have a lot of people who are useless. They weren't taught the right things because there was just too many children. Like, it was hard to focus on the children focus on everyone, let me put it that way. So it's only the children who were raised right that end up becoming something. And because most children ain't being raised right, don't end up becoming something in life. As someone who worked as a teacher before, I know that it was much easier for me to teach a class with like 20 students than it was for me to teach a class with like 60 students. It was easy for me to be able to recognize the capabilities of every student. Like, okay, this student is capable of this, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. You know every student, you know their strengths, you know their weaknesses. But when you're teaching like 60 students, it's hard for you to focus on each one of them. Because you can't. That's the problem with the world. We're not raising quality people because there's too many people. It's like, what most vegans are against, believe it or not, and this is something that some of them will not even realize. What they're really against is how we are abusing animals in order to make sure that we get the food that we want. Like how chickens are being raised, right? They're being injected with things that speed up their growth so that we'll eat them. You see, humans no longer get quality meat. Those who don't mind eating another living being, they don't even get quality meat because they have to inject these chickens with whatever they inject them with so that they'll become big, and they grow up like 4 weeks. Like, that's not even natural, that's not even normal. That's how humans are being raised now. We are being raised so that we will work and that's it. We're not raised the way that we need to be raised. No one is identifying our strength. No one is identifying our weaknesses. You know, no one is like, no one is realizing what we must be focusing on, like what each and every person must be focusing on, right? Like, okay, you have this talent, you can do this and that. That's what you must be focusing on. You know, no one is like, everyone is just being forced to do what works. Like, go to school, learn the same things. If you don't make it through school, then you don't have potential and you're not going to become anything in life. Most people weren't raised right, and that is the problem. That's what makes it hard to actually make it and become something in life. That is why we have lots of adults who don't know what to do. And there's just too many of us. Even if we knew what to do, there's already enough people who are doing what we need to be doing, right? That's the problem. There are a lot of people who qualify to have certain jobs, but they can't have these jobs because there's already enough people who have these jobs, right? That's the problem. We are having more children than the world actually needs. So now we end up competing for survival, competing for resources. And wherever there's competition, there isn't fairness, right? There's corruption, there's crime, lots of things that we don't want. And children ain't going to be raised right. That's another problem. Just the way that chickens are being raised, they're not being raised right, because it's not about them. It's about the people, right? The people want meat, so the chickens have to be raised as fast as possible. So they have to be injected with whatever they injected with, so that they will grow bigger in a very short period of time. So that's the thing. We're not being raised right as people. That is why a lot of people now are just dumb. Let me tell you this. My generation performs way better, or let me put it this way, performed way better than kids that are still going to school now. Way better. I worked as a teacher, and I'm telling you, I was surprised. Like, what the hell? What the hell happened? I thought that they were supposed to be smarter than my generation, because they had access to things that we didn't have access to, but they don't know anything. Like, they know nothing. My generation, we knew a lot, you know, compared to them. The problem is that there's too many people. That's the problem. Our teachers were able to focus on each and every student. They were able to do things right, not perfectly, but I would say better than they are doing things now. Like, things have changed. There's way too many people. It's not about having more people in the world. That doesn't really make things better. It's about making sure that each and every person is actually doing something that contributes in a way that is positive in the world. But if we're going to have a lot of people in the world and there isn't enough resources, then most people are not going to be doing things that are contributing in a way that is positive in the world. See, most people are going to be corrupt. Each and every person, if they get a chance to be corrupt, they will be corrupt, because, well, there isn't enough resources. So everyone is like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to get as much as I can for myself. I was explaining looting to someone a week ago. So this person was saying, I don't like black people because they loot. White people will never loot. You know, there was black people who were looting in South Africa, and I was like, is it all black people that were looting, or is the black people who just didn't have shit? Black people who were poor. Did you see doctors looting? Did you see lawyers looting? Did you see teachers looting? I mean, if you did, it was just few teachers. And also, what you must understand is that, I mean, I did see one teacher looting, but I didn't see lawyers, doctors, like people who are doing very well. I didn't see them looting. If people had jobs, it would be hard for them to decide to loot. Even the ones who wanted to loot, they wouldn't loot because they would know that there won't be that many people who would loot, so it will be easy to identify them. But people are so broke that once they get a chance to loot, they will loot. Let me give you another example. When I worked at the Department of Agriculture back in 2015, 2016, the people who were making money, right? People who were making money wouldn't really care about food. Like when we go and do a cleanup somewhere and they'll give us drinks, food, extra food, and like no, people who had money wouldn't really care. Why? They had money. They were able to afford that. They didn't really care. It was the ones who were broke that really cared. Like, hey, I gotta have drinks. I gotta have this and that because they didn't have access. Like that was something to them. There was something of value to them, right? So that's the thing. You want to get rid of crime? Make sure you reproduce less so that there will be enough resources for everyone. There will be enough food for everyone. There will be enough jobs for everyone so that people won't have to commit crime in order to survive. See, they have the things that they want. They have the things that they value. If you grow up not having the things that you want, if you get a chance to loot, you're going to loot. You'll be like, hey, I always wanted the Nike Air Force One sneakers. Boom. I'm going to loot. Oh, I've always wanted a PS5. Boom. You see? What we are doing is encouraging the behavior that we don't want from people. You see, that's what we're doing when we have kids now. We're encouraging the behavior that we don't want from people. Because people have to fight for resources. That's how it works. People have to... Growing up, I've realized that siblings that grew up in a family where there was food, they loved one another, right? They were treating one another right. Children who grew up in poverty hated one another. Like maybe not, they didn't really hate one another, but they would fight a lot. They would fight for food a lot because there just wasn't enough food. But if there's enough food, why would they fight? See, they won't fight for food because there is food. So they fought less compared to, you know, kids who grew up in poor families. That's what's happening now. We find ourselves fighting because there isn't enough resources. So the answer has always been antinatalism. It's people realizing what's going on in the world, realizing what they do have and what they do not have, and asking themselves whether it actually does make sense for them to be bringing more children into this world. Because for most people, it doesn't even make sense. You see? That is why antinatalism is important. It's not just about everyone stopping having children, but it's about people realize, like people actually maturing enough to realize what they shouldn't be doing, what is causing the problems that we are having, to make things better. Because things just become worse. If we're just going to procreate, even though we know that people who are here now are already suffering, what do we expect? What do we think the future is going to be like? And that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm an internationalist. I'm not just saying, well, let's just reproduce less. I mean, I'm saying that, but that's not all that I'm saying. I'm also saying let's not reproduce at all. And one of the biggest reasons is because humans ain't smart enough to make the right decisions, and that's my problem. You see, they're just not. If you're unable to see that, like when you're poor, if you're unable to see that you're poor and it will actually be best for you to not have children, how can you be trusted? How can I say, make more humans who think like that? But if we're able to think for ourselves, make logical decisions, I don't think I would really have had much of a problem with people procreating, but they don't think, and that's scary. It's not just about surviving, bro. We need to enjoy the human experience. We need to have the things that we want. We mustn't say, people just have to fight for resources as if that's how things should be. Like, no, that's fucking stupid. The fact that people have to fight for resources is stupid. It means there is something that we're doing wrong. And that shouldn't make a person feel good. Like, okay, in this world, we just have to fight for resources and we need warriors. We need, like, no, fuck that. We don't need warriors. Warriors for what? We need intelligence so that we'll make the right decisions, so that people won't have to fight. That's what we need. That's why I hate these people with warrior mentality. Like, oh, we need to raise warriors. Fight for what instead of making the right decisions? We don't have to fight. I've given you this example so many times before. When I was still a high school student, they'll give us food, right? Sometimes they'll give us apples. Instead of making sure that each and every student will get an apple, we'll fight for those fucking apples, and they'll allow us to fight for those apples like monkeys. That's fucking stupid. Do we need that? Do we need to be like that? Or do we need to be able to, share? Make sure that each and every student gets an apple, other than fighting. And some people have like 5 apples, while someone doesn't. When some people don't even have 1 apple. That's fucking wrong on so many levels, and that isn't something that we should love and be like, hey, we should train people to be like that because that's how the world works. No, we must change that, because that's wrong on so many levels, and it's messed up to even bring someone into that kind of a situation as if they asked to be in that kind of a situation. You see, what we need is intelligence so that we'll make the right decisions to make things better in this world. That is why antinatalism is important. So if a person like me says, hey, this isn't working, we gotta stop and think so that we'll make the right decisions. They're completely right. Completely right. Sometimes we need the truth. We don't need the ignorance that has always been driving us. We need the truth. We need to acknowledge the truth. Okay, this is the truth. This is why we're fucking up. This is what needs to change for us to make things better in the world. And we try to actually make things better, instead of living a lie. A lot of people are suffering because we are living a lie. We're not willing to acknowledge the truth. There isn't enough resources, bruh. Like, for real, there's way too many people. Not everyone can live a quality life because there's just way too many people. And it's the people who came before us who were fucking up, because they were the ones who knew that things ain't really working out in the world. But they continue to procreate. There's 0 reasons for lack of employment. I want you all to get that. Like, there shouldn't be lack of employment. Each and every person born must have a job by default. In fact, jobs must actually seek for people. Not people competing for jobs, people going on interviews. That's fucked up, man, when you think about it. People must have options. But if more than 60% of people who need jobs are unemployed, that is messed up. That's when you're gonna have nepotism, corruption. That allows room for corruption by default. So you gotta think for the future generation. How are things going to be like if already people who are here now don't have money because they don't get the kind of jobs that they want, or that are paying them enough, or some of them can't even get jobs at all. But they were born here. They do have a right to have a job. If they can't have a job, then and maybe they feel like this isn't worth it, help them. I guess help them exit, because they're not doing anything because of this kind of society that we have created. but you're not even gonna help them. You'd be like, oh, you're sick. No, they need money. They need to have the things that they want. So let's make sure that the world is balanced enough so that each and every person is able to have the things that they want, so that they live lives that they'll actually enjoy, lives that they would want to relive. Now, most people are going to live like slaves. And that is what is happening. Most people are slaves now. Most people are slaves now because there's too many people and very few people who actually have money. So it's easy to enslave people. Think about it. If 1 out of 10 people has money, it will be easy for them to enslave anyone that they want to enslave, right? Because they have money and everyone wants money. But if 10 out of 10 people have money, then no one is going to be a slave. This is something that a lot of people don't even realize. There's a reason why a lot of people don't mind working shitty jobs, because many people don't have money. So they feel like, well, it's something, you know. Christians be thanking God for shitty jobs. Like, it's something. You ask yourself, will Jesus even approve? Will Jesus be proud? Or Jesus will be like, what? I mean, Jesus was some kind of a gangster, man. He was a game changer. He was against bullshit laws. Alright? So I don't believe that if he existed in real life, he would actually agree with what's going on. People having to work shitty jobs to survive, people being slaves and actually thinking that that is normal. People are so weak, man. Like, they don't even think the way that they need to be thinking. So demoralized. It's not fun. The human experience is becoming more and more horrible. You know, when I see kids that are still growing up, I genuinely feel sorry for them. Like, damn, man. I hope we can get our shit together as a society, because damn. Like, we are fucked up when we've been fucking up for a very long time. Like, we haven't been coming up with the right kind of solutions. Like, we know what needs to be done, but I mean, not all of us, but some of us know what needs to be done and we ain't able to do what needs to be done. Sometimes we do try, but because there ain't that many people who know what needs to be done, then things don't really change. People like Elon just want slaves. You know, they're so comfortable where they're at. They're living like kings. So they enjoy that. Like, shit, man, I have all this wealth. Damn. People gotta have more children so that we'll be able to rule over many people. Because if people are not having that many children, then who are we going to rule over? See? Who's going to be desperate enough to work shitty jobs to do what humans don't like really want to do? Humans don't want to work shitty jobs, man. That's why when people win the lottery, the first thing they do is quit their jobs. Like, hey, man, I got money now. And they will quit in the most spectacular way. Like, damn. I'm gonna have to say something fucked up to my boss because he was an asshole. You know, I just had to work for him because I needed money. Now that I got money, now that I don't need this dude, I'm gonna say something crazy to him. I'm gonna give him the middle finger in front of everyone. Whatever, like, I don't need this dude. People don't want to work shitty jobs, man. They work shitty jobs because they have to. So the right kind of decision is to just make sure that we don't create more slaves, because it's not necessary to create slaves. So that's my biggest problem with people creating more people unnecessarily. And it seems like when you confront them and tell them that, hey man, what we're doing is wrong and it's not going to help us in any positive way, you know, they actually blame you. They think that you're doing something wrong, or actually they'll actually think that you're evil. Like, dude, what I'm telling you is the truth. You're just not conscious enough to understand it. You see, what I'm telling you is the truth, but you're just not conscious enough to understand that. It sucks, man. Human beings are suffering because of their lack of awareness. See, that's one of the biggest problems. Human beings are suffering because of their lack of awareness. So we need to wake up as people. If you know that you're on the right path, you gotta stay on that path. You know, don't change. Don't feel like just because you're outnumbered you must change in order to fit in and all that. Like, nah, man. You shouldn't mind if you're outnumbered. You stand for the truth no matter what. We all don't really know what this is, so there's no need to be fake. You speak the truth, even if it means that the whole world is going to be against you. Because people are making unnecessary mistakes, and that's the reason why we're dealing with what we're dealing with today. Is the mistakes that we've been making for the longest time, and it doesn't help, man. It doesn't help. So I believe that, you know, some of us are conscious for the right reasons. Like, some of us are conscious for the right reasons, and the more we do what needs to be done, the better. I mean, the stronger we become, and that's something that a lot of people don't even realize. Like, the more you do what you need to do, the stronger you become. Njani? Mfugin komo kumilo yana lane. Logboya titango yana ish. Thank you. So the only solution is reproducing less. Now, if people don't understand antinatalism, I get that, but it's easy to understand that reproducing less is actually the solution, right? You might not understand internationalism, and it seemed like it seemed radical. I guess this is why a lot of people don't understand it, even though it's like anti-neutralism is true on every level. But sometimes we have to appreciate the level of ignorance that most people have, like most people are operating on. Other than, just because you're right, it doesn't mean that you must, expect everyone to understand you. Some people are just not that conscious. It takes a lot to actually reach some level of awareness. And just like I keep on telling y'all that human beings are not the same animals. Like, believe it or not, human beings are not the same animals. Even though we are treated like we are the same, but we're different, man. I like having deep conversations with people, and I do realize that some people are not deep at all, and some people are deep. This is not about, whether people agree with me or not, but some people are just not deep. You talk to them and you're like, what? This human is not capable of understanding some things because they're just not that deep. You talk to someone else and they're deep, whether they agree with you or not, but you see that they're deep and they're able to understand you on some level. So we're not really the same. So if someone is being ignorant, just know that we're not the same. But it doesn't mean that what you are saying is not true. It just means that some people are just not that intelligent enough. I mean, not that many people are intelligent anyway. Not that many people are intelligent. Back when I was still in high school, our teachers will tell us, like, when you would, if some people were like, some girls were getting pregnant, they'll tell us that, oh, so you don't mind that you're poor, like you want to rot in poverty, right? You want to rot in poverty. Why would you have children knowing that you're poor? But here's the thing. The same people who will say that still believe that having children, even if you don't have money, is good if you are old enough. They've just been programmed to value education too much, right? Like, oh, people gotta be educated. So if they have children when they're still going to class, then they might not be able to pass. Like, nah, the truth is that most people who are having children shouldn't even be having children. Like, even if having children was actually the right thing to do, most people wouldn't be right to be having children. Like, very few people will be right to have children. Thank you all, guys. I mean, it's not right to have children at all, but we live in a world where it was right. Very few people will qualify to have children. Thank you.